Hello and welcome to Transmutational Thursday. This is another exciting installment of live, inspirational, common unity collaboration. In other words, we are collecting the best people together to, do I have to mute you there? We're collecting the best people together to bring wisdom and consciousness forwards into your world. My name is Markabadi. So please like and share. In particular, sharing is the important bit. Have watch parties. That's the way to share the love. And all the other videos I've done are on my live stream. So enjoy that. Right, you have to start your video. Shows your pretty face. Look at that beard. Look at that. Is a man in retirement. Wonderful. How are you?
Nice to see you, Mark. How are you?
See you. I'm very well.
Great.
So for those of you who don't know the illustrious Sridhar, he's, amongst other things, founder and producer of Bhaktifest and Shakti Fest, has done brilliant work in bringing people together to hold and be in devotional spaces, and a phenomenal producer that we've had the pleasure of working together. Sri, do you want to tell us anything about your prior background? Maybe mention Amma and your work with her and stuff?
Oh, it goes way back. You know, I started the first natural food store in Southern California, in 1970. And then I had that big cosmetic company that I discovered the essential oil of Melaleuca alternifolia, which is quite a phenomenal thing to be able to bring that to the universe. It was a great...
You introduced tea tree to where? To the world?
To America.
America? Why not?
Yeah. 1978, yeah.
That was the year I was born, Sri.
Really? Yeah. Well, I don't want to predate myself or anything.
Well, you know, great things happened, obviously, in that year.
Exactly.
So then what happened? So you were doing your tea tree?
And I built up that big company, Desert Essence, and then I saw that, I start things, I create them, and somehow I get a little bored if I don't get enough activity, so I wind up selling things and starting something else and like that, And then I spent from 2000, I've been very close with Ram Dass since 1970, when we met at the feet of Swami Muktananda when he first came to America. Did we mention the Woodstock situation? I don't think we mentioned that yet, but we can get to that.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll talk about Woodstock.
Yeah, so, I brought the Swami to Woodstock, Swami Satchidananda, who did the invocation at Woodstock. It was a very powerful moment. And pretty much Woodstock was a very great spiritual event, but that was the main focus of spirituality at Woodstock Festival.
That was the first Woodstock or?
Yep, the first one, 1969. August 15th or something like that.
Now you are dating yourself. Didn't they do a 50th anniversary of that?
They did a couple of different events subsequent to that, but we weren't part of that. I was friends of the producers, Artie Kornfeld and Mike Lang, and we used to hang out together in New York when I lived there from 65 to 70. And they asked me one day, what do you think is missing from this proposed Woodstock? And I said, you got the greatest talents coming in, or to be great talent, because a lot of them are unknown at that point.
Right.
But you're missing the spiritual aspect. And they said, okay, what do you want to do? I said, let's invite Swami Satchidananda. I'll get him. I'll bring him up. So we flew him up by helicopter. You see this in the actual movie of Woodstock. And right. he comes off, and, we bring him on the stage. It was like amazing, and we're all dressed in our whites and stuff like that. And I realized at that point, as I'm walking him on the stage, that there's nobody there to introduce him. And because the announcer, what had happened is Woodstock was like 2 or 3 hours late to start, because the original group that came got on that stage and got so freaked out, they jumped off the stage and they hid in the bushes because they were so panicked. So they were...
What, the amount of people there?
They were just panicked. Nobody ever performed in front of anybody, any kind of a group of 500,000 people before, especially all these people there. It was the biggest assembly of people in the world. Never happened before.
Well, that was the first time that we gathered such large numbers?
In America.
Wow.
Not in India, of course, because they
Right.
have the Kumbh Mela and stuff like that. So then they grabbed, the producers grabbed Richie Havens. And they said, Richie, get up there and you open up. And he's sweating and this and that. And we walk on the stage at the same time. He's, strumming up behind, not ready to go on yet. And I said, oh, Richie, would you please introduce Swami Satchidananda? And he looks at me, he says, get the fuck out of here, kid. Anyhow, I got the announcer finally came back. He made the announcement.
Right.
All turned out pretty good.
All right, so that was Woodstock, and really Woodstock birthed all these other festivals, even Burning Man.
Everything came from Woodstock.
And so then what happened after your
Actually, at that moment, I was standing on the stage with Swami Satchidananda. I have a beautiful picture of that. And we look out in the crowd, and I said, Swami, someday we'll have all these kind of people, this amount of people chanting the names of God. He said, oh, Sridhar, I hope so. It reminds me so much of India. And then 40 years later, actually, almost to the date, we put on the first Bhaktifest in 2009.
Right, I want to get to the Bhaktifest, but let's talk. Let's get the lineup, because we're at Woodstock 40 years before this.
Yeah. So then I moved to California, started a natural food store, and we were teaching yoga at that time. I was a yoga teacher from 67 is when my spiritual yoga guru came to America. That was Swami Satchidananda. The famous painter, Peter Max, brought him to America in the mid-60s. And I was very attracted to him because he was an exceptional yoga teacher, master. That's where I learned yoga. And I actually proposed to Livingston College, which is part of Rutgers in New Jersey, to teach yoga at college. Nobody ever taught yoga at a college in anywhere in the world. And they laughed at me when I first went over there. I called them up, and then I went over there and made a presentation, a big packet of how beneficial yoga is. And they said, okay. They gave me a four credited course once a week. So at that point, I was, a successful real estate broker in New York, and by day, and by night, I was teaching yoga at 500 West End Avenue. But every Wednesday, I would go to Penn Station, take the train to New Brunswick or someplace like that, and my students would pick me up. I would have my whites in a bag, and they would take me to the class.
You have a suit on, and then your whites in the back.
Yeah, in a plastic bag, and then I would go into like the room behind the class, change immediately, right?
Like Yogi Superman.
Yeah, and teach this fantastic class. I taught yoga, philosophy, and we had chanting, and very well received. I had 40, 50 students there for that whole semester. It was really, really nice. And then I dropped out in 1970, and I moved to California, traveling with my guru, which was Swami Muktananda, who came in September of 1970, and that's when I met Ram Dass and all these illustrious characters, and I was friends with Ram Dass until he just passed away.
Yeah. There's a great movie out about Ram Dass, right?
There's been a lot of movies. I did 11 years I was blessed, and every year he allowed me to come and do interviews with him. Yeah. They're all up on our website. You might want to make reference. Yeah, and on YouTube as well. Ram Dass and Sridhar. And yeah, they're great. They're beautiful interviews. And we spent 11 years doing that. And our last one was last year.
Right. So then, okay, so fast forwarding, you move to California, you bring tea tree.
Well, I first moved to Topanga Canyon, and at that point I got married with my first wonderful wife. I had two beautiful children with her, and that's when I started the health food store, and I taught yoga upstairs, and all these illustrious characters would be coming, and we would host them throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s. Pretty much any spiritual teacher that came to America, they came to our nonprofit Center for Spiritual Studies because we were the only ones that were universal. We weren't attached to any group.
Right.
So everybody felt comfortable coming.
Right.
So we would sponsor them.
Right.
Everybody from Yogi Bhajan to who you name it, everybody came.
Wow. And did you film any stuff at that time? Or are there other videos from that era?
I'm sure there are, you know, something I'm digging out lately because I have so much time now at home. So I'm opening up boxes and I'm finding these pictures and these videos and stuff like that. I hope soon that I'll be able to put everything together and make something out of it.
Yeah. Okay. What about, tell us about AMMA. Your AMMA.
Then, you know, so I was with Muktananda from 1970 to when he died, 1982, 12 really powerful years. In fact, as soon as he died, I flew to India and helped put him into his tomb. It was a very powerful moment for me. But then, you know, there was problems with the successors. I don't want to go too much into politics on that one. Yeah. And I dropped out of that organization. And then AMMA came to America in 1987. Somebody told me about her. I went up to Berkeley to see her. We had this amazing connection. I invited her to come to LA. I sponsored her programs, paid for everything for many, many years. She stayed at my home. I actually built her a room at the house just for her. Nobody used it when she wasn't there, other than meditating in it. Mm-hmm. And I've been with her ever since.
Wow. Wonderful. Okay. Now let's go to Bhakti. Tell us about Bhaktifest. What moved you on from doing the health food store, where you were, you know, hosting these gurus traveling through America, to wanting to put on an event?
Well, I sold that. I sold the health food store. I sold the cosmetic company, and I was pretty much doing altruistic work for many, many years, and especially working with Ram Dass, you know, producing his events and producing Krishna Das's concerts in LA and different kind of people. When they came to LA, everybody always called me because we had the production down. And then sometime, I think it was 2003, Ram Dass was living in some funky commune in the middle of California. And I went up there to see him, and they were sticking a pipe in his mouth at like 8 o'clock in the morning and taking it out at midnight, and taking his credit cards and abusing him.
And what was the pipe in his mouth? What do you mean?
Marijuana pipe and drugs.
Getting him stoned.
Yeah, and then they would abuse him with his money and credit cards. And I said, Baba, this is terrible because, you know, we've been through so much together before that. And my heart just broke. He says, get the fuck out of here, Sridhar. It's none of your business. Leave. So he kicked me off the property. And I drove all the way back to Topanga, like 8 hours, sobbing. And for 3 days, I could not sleep, literally. And I said, no, I gotta do something. I mean, you gotta step up. You can't not do something if you really love somebody deep and honor them as such a being, as he's such a great teacher, and he's gonna die. Literally, he was gonna die.
And
so I called him up.
This was when, Sridhar?
2003.
Wow.
Yeah, he was already well into his stroke and well into his wheelchair and stuff like that. Right. I called him up and said, Baba, we're going to do a retreat on Maui. I mean, I didn't have anything planned. Right. And I want you to come. And him and hard and him and hard. I said, okay, I'll come. Oh, he's coming? I have to do a retreat. Right. So I called up Shiva Ray and a couple of my other friends, and we got like around 100 people, and we did a retreat at a Haleakua retreat site on Maui. And then I said, Baba, you know, you're too sick. You can't leave. And I captured him. I successfully did the intervention, put him in a hospital, got a house for him, hired the best, you know, people, the doctors, and take care of him. He never left the island until he just passed away.
What? So he only came to visit, and you did an intervention and captured him. And but what about all this stuff and the hippies and all that?
I kicked them out. They came at one, and then 2 or 3 of them came. I kicked them out. One time it came to blows. It was a very vicious time.
What, in Maui? They came to Maui to try and get him back? I've not heard any of this story. Who else knows this story? I mean,
there's a lot of them that you haven't heard, but we have a few minutes here, so I'm giving you a little tidbits of it.
So then all these hippies came to Maui to try and get him back. And because he was paying for the other place, the commune?
Yeah, it was his money that was supporting the hippies. It wasn't a lot of them. It was only 2 or 3 of them that came. And then, but I stood my ground. And then some of the people from his old group from his Nim Crowley Baba days came to help me. And I gave my Center for Spiritual Studies, our nonprofit tax-exempt foundation, to him. And I raised him all the money from 2004 to 2009. That's when we aligned ourselves with Wayne Dyer. We raised a couple $100,000 for him. And then I got a friend.
For Ram Dass?
Yeah, for his health. And that's how I was able to hire all these people and get them to doctors and everything. And then we got the house, and then a good friend of mine, a doctor from Florida, donated the house that he's still in now, that he was still in now. And in 2009, they wanted to have more of their satsang involved, the Nim Crowley Baba satsang. So I took back my Center for Spiritual Studies. They created Love, Serve, and Remember,
right,
which is what's happening today. And at 2009, at the end of 2008, I said, okay, what are we doing now? And then I said, let's put on that festival that I told Swami Satchidananda 40 years ago that we would do.
All right, so now let's get to this. So we've got up to date on Bhakti, or we're starting Bhakti. Tell us about the notion of, like, first tell us about Bhaktifest. What is it?
Well, I really wanted to have a festival that was devoted to spirituality, yoga, meditation, chanting, kirtan, no meat, no alcohol, and no drugs. Not that I'm opposed to anything, Mark, as you know. I'm open to people doing whatever they want. But I didn't want to have another gathering where people just come and get drunk and pick each other up and fuck the whole weekend, you know? It was not, there was no point in doing another of another of another. So that's why we created it this way, and it hit. People really understood it. It was family orientated. People were able to bring their teenage girls and not have them assaulted, and their kids were able to roam around to our kids' land. And it was a real solid, you know, a solid attempt, and it worked. It worked.
And were there any other spiritual festivals happening at that time? Not
like that. And to be honest with you, there've been many attempts to model festivals like ours, but they just never, they came, they went, they came, they went, like that. I wish everybody the best, but there's only one Bhaktifest, you know.
So then the Bhaktifest, there's a lot of focus on the Indian approach or mythologies, but it's not specifically Indian.
No, it's open to all teachings, actually, you know, Buddhism, Christianity. We want to be open to everything, you know. Nobody's left out of this equation, you know.
You often have Sufis performing.
Yeah.
Right?
Sufi, you know, whoever really is part of this genre, we are open to, you know, and like that. And we had a good 10-year run. Our biggest festival was 2010. It was magnificent. Deepak Chopra came. It was just extraordinary. And then after that, that was 2000 and when was that?
That was 17, I think, Chopra, or 18.
18. And then last year,
that was the one I worked, but you forgot I worked it. Yeah.
That's the one. That's why I was so successful. And then 2019, it just all fell apart because we had to move our location. And that's devastating for any festival to move, as you know. You can maybe make a move once if you have enough money, but we had to move twice in 1 year. So we lost everything and, you know, really took a big hit. And so this year we decided to, you know, calm down a little bit, not do a Bhakti Fest. 2 years after we started Bhakti Fest, we started the Shakti Fest, which was more predominantly for women and devoted to the feminine, you know. So we have more women teachers, more women expressing themselves, more women doing workshops, more women leaders, and that turned out really nice. So this year, you know, we were going to do one in May next month, but due to all this virus situation, we canceled it to November 19th weekend. And we're doing it in a hotel in Desert Hot Springs, a small little event for like 500 people inside, couple of rooms, ballrooms outside like that, nice rooms, easy, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And so then, what? Let's talk about this situation. What do you make of what's going on in the world with this?
You know, they've been talking about this for many, many years, you know, what's going to happen when the climate change and all that stuff breaks down. Nobody's listening to anybody. You know, it is what it is. It's giving us time to reflect, to see what really is real. You know, what's real is our loved ones, our friends, our family, our children. You know, it's getting back to our sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers, taking care of our families, which we have moved aside over the years because we got too much caught up in our own heads, you know. So this is giving us good time for reflection. I'm getting to a lot of projects that I haven't done before. I'm diving deeper into my meditation and my yoga every day, listening to my music, reading my books, and rereading a lot of stuff as well. Because, you know, when you read a book at one time and you come back to it 5 or 10 years later, you reread the book and say, I never even understood what I was reading before, because you have changed so much. You know, you have grown. You become a better, beautiful human being.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and so how, like, people are dealing with a lot of stress at the moment because they don't know how to. It's like all the limits that were holding them in place have now gone, and they're kind of like, you know, water in a tank that's no longer solid, and so they're splurting all over the place. What can people do to like get more
sane?
Right, sane.
Yeah, you got to get back deeper into your practice. That's the only thing I'm seeing, you know. I thought I was going to be watching a lot of Netflixes and that was going to help me, but that was just another indulgence, you know. We have to get back to our meditation. We got to get back to our exercises. I do my yoga. I get on my bike every afternoon, my exercise bike, you know. Pretty much alone out here. I'm living with my 21-year-old daughter. She does the shopping for me. You know, actually yesterday I went and got tested.
Oh, yeah? A blood test?
No, the swab.
Oh, God. And
I'm recommending everybody be proactive with this situation.
Really?
Don't wait for the government to tell you anything. Go, especially if you're older than, let's say, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, go get tested. No big deal. It's nothing. You just make an appointment and you go get tested. It's free. It's put on by your local counties. And then the next test I'm going to do is the antibody test. I want to know everything before this false government tells us what to do and what not to do, because they don't know what they're talking about.
But you think the virus is a real solid threat, but you think the government is what? So what's the government's take on it? They're just sort of.
No, they realize that it's a threat, but he's more interested in getting the economy back together, and I understand that. There is no money. People don't have jobs. They can't eat. They can't do. You know, we had an increase of robberies out here just this past week. You know, 2 stores were broken into yesterday.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be good for anybody.
Okay, so people who don't have any practice, who don't know what that means, where can they start? What's their, like? Okay, they're like, now, okay, that guy looks calm. I mean, they don't know you, but that guy looks calm, and and I want some of that.
You know something? I'm very calm, and I do get agitated, and I do get crazy at times, and I'm telling that as a fact. That's why I don't want to do business anymore.
Right.
I'm not interested in being involved with any business because I know that's my weak point.
Right.
I can't be balanced in doing business. I know that for me.
Yeah. So in business, you get excited about the stuff to do.
I get caught up with everything, just like everybody else. It's very, very difficult.
So then now, what do people do who are, you know, they're used to being distracted by having something to do,
right?
And now they don't have that distraction, and they're panicking. They're uncomfortable, and they don't know. Like, they've maybe never done this practice you're talking about getting back into. So where do they start? How do they start?
You can go online, first of all, and get some online yoga courses for free. There's plenty of, yeah. I would suggest getting the body in tune first, you know? Exercise, exercise, exercise. That keeps your mind busy, you know? Get on your bike, right? Ride around on your bike and do some yoga postures. And then once you get, you're nice and loose and stuff, sit quietly for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. Don't push yourself. Everybody says, oh, I can't meditate, I can't do it, because they try to push themselves to get someplace. There's no place to go. Meditation is you're just there. You're just being quiet and not having any thoughts in your head. That's the point. You're not going to be nobody's going to be enlightened in this lifetime, guaranteed.
That's a hilarious one. That's a quote.
Yes.
I'm getting you on that one. No, nobody's going to be enlightened in this lifetime, guaranteed.
That's it. So don't even strive for it. Just become a better human being. That's it.
Okay, so people. Okay, so people are sitting. They do the exercise, and then they come and they sit back and they sit for 5 minutes, and thoughts are coming, and they're like, "Yeah, get away, fuck off, the thoughts."
That's why the method of japa, J-A-P-A, japa mantra, which is recitation of a mantra.
All right.
So you can have any mantra. You know, the great Krishnamurti, who I love, used to give courses up in Ojai in the 70s and 80s. We used to go up there and listen to him. He said, mantra is great. You can use the word Coca-Cola. He said, it doesn't matter. It's just a repetition of a word. Om, Hari Om, Guru Om, Namah Shivaya, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There's so many different mantras, you know. Find one that you resonate with, or none at all. But the idea for the mantra is when you're sitting for meditation, your mind gets clouded and all these thoughts come, back to that repetition.
Right.
Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Om Guru, yeah? And that clears up all that chatter, and you're focusing on that one mantra. And then all of a sudden, that mantra stops, and you have that second of stillness. And that's the place to go.
That's the magic. So the mantra is like a kind of...
the key, it's a key.
It's kind of like creating a standard noise in the background, almost like a drone.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the drone from the harmonium, you know, in Kirtan music is very popular and very common.
And the tambura also.
Right, and the tambura, and then of course singing bowls and all things like that.
Yeah.
Somebody was suggesting that sort of sound represents the oneness that is creation, and that our individual input into it is kind of like one and two. It's like the individuality and the singularity combined.
Yeah. That's the word Om, O-M. That's how that all came about. You know, the oneness is the word Om. In the beginning, there was the word. And some people think that word was Om.
Right.
Yeah.
So what now for the projects of Sri?
Sri's not doing anything. I'm just, June 1st, I actually, June 3rd, I have a plan. I'm fixing up one of my RVs, and I'm going down to Baja, and I'm taking the month off in Baja, and I'm just going to swim and surf and ride my bike and, you know, sit there and just do nothing.
That sounds fantastic, actually. Are you going to be able to get across the border?
Everything is going to be open soon.
What's your prediction?
Well, they can't hold this back anymore. And people are going to go back out, and we're going to get into trouble. That's why when you go back out, you can't be in crowds anymore. You can't be you have to have your face mask. You have to do all that. You know, this whole thing about socializing is going to take on a different take. Next fall, the flu comes back, the virus comes back, we go start all over again.
All right. What's the future of Bhaktifest?
I have no idea yet. My daughter's taking over, bless her heart, whatever she wants to do next year and associate with whoever she wants to associate. I'm open. You know, the festival business is not what it used to be. You know, the dynamic now is very, very difficult. You see all these festivals that had to cancel this year. I mean, how do you cancel a Burning Man? And you know, and then Lightning in the Bottom, all these big festivals, they're huge. It's a lot. I don't think things are going to be mass gatherings are going to happen too much.
What do you think the future looks like for gatherings? I mean, I was always a little perplexed and dismayed by the notion of building these festivals in places and then having to take everything down, all the work you put in to take it down. You store it. I mean, at Bhakti, we had those big containers. You had to store everything. And then, you know, next year you invest a load of energy in building it again and taking it down.
It's a waste of money and a waste of time.
Right.
Unless you have a permanent facility that you can carry on the whole year long, every month with various places.
Carrying on adding to it. Do you think that's what the future is going to look like for these festivals?
I'd like it to be, and you know, I would love to be involved with something like that because you know, but it's money, it's politics, it's all kinds of stuff. You know, the fact that we lost our zoning at our Joshua Tree Music Retreat Center, it was very difficult for us. You know, I could go back there and try to buy the place and stuff like that, but you know.
Do you not think that's ever going to return then, the retreat center?
That particular retreat center, not for the foreseeable future, unless people like you and me come down there and figure out what to do with it. But you need backing. You need, you know, millions of dollars. You know?
Right. So then, what about the notion of building villages that have people living on them, and that it's like it's a community that puts on events?
Communities are doing very well. That Envision, I understand, did very well down there in Costa Rica, even though it's not a spiritual event, you know. Yeah. And they have a wonderful group of people down there. I think this is going to happen more around the world. But again, it's politics. It's who's the boss, who's running things and stuff like that. It always gets down to that. Yeah, kind of difficult. I personally don't want to be involved with anything anymore. I just, you know, I'm going to go live in India for like 3-4 months a year. I'm going to be in Vietnam for a couple of months and like that.
Sounds great. All right, but you've seen a lot of communities around, surely. You've been to a lot of communities. What models have you seen actually work in community living?
Well, that one in Italy, the one that
Dhamana.
Yeah, that one seems to be working. But as soon as you have a leader or something like this, there's always room for like stuff to happen, you know. I think if we can get a community together where everybody's on the same level. Everybody has
communism.
Yeah, no, everybody has their own place.
Right.
And then we have a big meeting area, a big community area, a big thing. But you can stay in your own place and you can come out to everything and it's all universal, it's all open, it's all, I think that might work.
It's kind of similar to a kibbutz style, but yeah. There was another name, a different type of kibbutz, a nubuks or something, I don't know, it was a different type of kibbutz. It's not, it's where actually people own their house as opposed to the kibbutz house.
Yeah, I like that aspect. I would go for something like that, but I'm not putting anything together anymore, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't have an energy. You know, I lived a very full life. Now I like to go just sit and throw even though I haven't fished in a long time, throw my fishing rod in there and sit there with a book on my chair and contemplate.
I think that is a perfect use of your superpowers, of your skills.
Yeah.
What about sharing some of the wisdom and experience, like doing some podcasts and different things like that?
I love to do it, you know, I love to do. I like to be able to do things like this more often. I just don't have the technical whereabouts. People are telling me start your own whatever this thing is called. your eye, whatever. The podcast, right? And my kids laugh at me all the time. I don't even know the name, but it's, you know, I have 4 beautiful children. I have really amazing kids and 2 fantastic grandchildren. I'm very, very blessed from 3 different mothers, and I'm very close to my 4 children. And we talk every day. Skype back and forth. I talk all the time with my grandchildren. And this whole thing has been bringing us all closer and closer. We have a good time.
Right. I mean, you feel really good. You feel like energetically really happy.
Yeah. And in July, I drive up to Oregon. We spend the whole month up there. My kids live in Bend, and we go camping and hiking, and we're going to Lake Shasta and boating, and, you know, just a family thing, cookouts every day. And I like that kind of stuff.
I mean, it sounds like this this shutdown has been very good. Sort of like push you over the edge into family or something.
Well, not only that, but, you know, 2 years ago, I had my bout with prostate cancer, and I almost died. And that really gave me an amazing wake-up call. And how I went through the process and what I did and how I beat it. It's a model for other men, and I talk to other men that call me and help them through the process. You know, one out of 7 men in America have prostate cancer, and over 250,000 die every year. And a lot of it could be avoidable if you caught it at the right time.
Right. Well, well done on your work there, and well done on your state of presence. It's great. It's great. So we can work together. I'll help you set up some tech so that you can do your podcast.
I love you too. You can be the moderator. We can have some fun. We bring in some other guests. We can, you know, get some of the luminaries on, and we can have this banter back and forth where you ask people questions and stuff like that. My next call is with this guy, Chris, who's putting on a big podcast in May 23rd. He wants us to put the Bhakti music and yoga on. And this is something you might be interested in getting involved with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we can definitely talk offline, but I'm happy for that. What so then basic what about some good books people to get stuck into? Good writings.
Good writings, of course, is Ram Dass's work. You know, check out his Paths to God. Actually, this particular book here, because I always have it around.
Right, Paths to God.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And, you know, any books from the scriptures and stuff. You know, I'm back to listening to Alan Watts again.
Me too. I've been.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
And Manly P. Hall, Hall, fabulous stuff. You know, great stuff. These are real guys. None of this new age bullshit, spirituality, you know. Ram Dass never said he was a guru. He was just a great teacher, but he never claimed to be a guru. He always made reference to his guru, Nim Crowley Baba, you know. And that's the key to listening to any teacher or anybody, is their reference to always to their teacher, to their lineage. And if they don't have reverence to their lineage, it's just coming out of their own head. And there's too much abuse. You know, still these so-called semi-gurus are popping up, and they're still abusing their devotees, their students. It's terrible.
What do you mean?
There's still the sexual abuse going on between the teachers and the girls, you know. It doesn't end. Between the yoga teachers, between the so-called gurus, you know, which is all bullshit, you know. It's all bullshit.
What's the best way to you know, discern the bullshit?
That's the word. Discern. That's the key word in your whole life. You have to have discernment and question. If you come up across a teacher or a spiritual guru, question them. Don't let them get away with any shit.
Right.
I always question everybody. I said, well, why are you doing this way? Why are you doing that? You know? Yeah. And as soon as they say to me, oh, don't ever question the guru because they know everything, I'm out the door.
Right. Yeah, if you can't ask a question, then people are scared of it or whatever. Or people say it's the way it's always been done.
Yeah, they're just following along. And we don't want to follow anymore. You see what following along got us? We're here. Look at this. Look at the state that we're in. It's awful. It's awful. We got the worst fucking government in the history of the world. There's never been a government as bad as the one we have. How did we come down to this? What did we deserve to have this kind of president and this craziness? Don't get me started.
Well, what do you think? I want to get you started. What's going to happen this year?
You know, a gorilla would be better than what we have now. Anybody, you know, just get this guy out, vote for Biden, whatever happens, happens. It's got to be better than what's happening now. You know, it's got to be better. Just a little bit is going to be better. But he can't go.
They seem to have a lot of following, including a lot of Jews seem to follow him, like, because he seems to have good support for Israel's government.
But he's only supporting Israel's government because of the politics. He plays to the Jews. He doesn't give a shit about Israel.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there seems to be a lot of support. I mean, look, embarrassingly, my mum voted for him, and she will do again.
Yeah. Well, my sister voted for him.
I don't understand.
My sister voted for him, and now she realizes she made a mistake.
You see, that's one thing, to vote and to get, but what I see a lot of Trump voters doing is doubling down on the mistake. Like, you know, that it's too painful for them to admit it. And so they go, oh no, it's great. And they keep it. And it's that stubbornness. And I find that stubbornness is interesting in people's habit patterns as well.
Yeah.
What can people do when they're confronted with their own stubborn belief systems?
Besides knocking their head against the wall?
I mean, what can they do for themselves? You know, like, how do people wake up?
Stubbornness is a product of the ego, Mark.
The ego?
It's a product of the ego, you know? Our ego gets so locked into thinking we're right? So we're stubborn because we don't want to change, but change is good. And look at what we're having to do now. Look at this life-changing time for us. Everything that was is not happening anymore. I can't even go to the supermarket. I can't even go down to the post office. I can't do anything anymore.
Lucky. But why are people resisting the change? What's in people that they don't like change? What's the grounding of it?
I think they feel comfortable in something like this. And as soon as they're faced with something different, they get anxious and they get nervous. But now it's all up. Everything is in turmoil. Now is the time to make the change. Now is the time. You couldn't make the change before because we were too stubborn. Okay, how about this? You're not going to change now? You might as well dig your hole in the back of your yard there, if you have a yard.
Right. Otherwise, just throw yourself off the balcony, clearly.
Yeah. Or if you don't have a balcony, open up your window.
So it's like people were resisting change because they were scared that it was going to reject them, that they were not going to feel as accepted.
Yeah, and that they were going to lose something. And that's why people don't like to follow any spiritual teachers, because they think they have to give their money up, or that the only thing they have to give up is their ego. You know, that's all. That's the whole key here. Nobody wants to give up their ego. I'm right. Now forget about that. Forget about it. We're not right about anything. Look at this. You thought you were right a year ago or 6 months ago? I don't think I'm right about anything. I just have to take my supplements every day, do my work, and survive another day. The weeks are going like crazy. One day it's Sunday, the next day it's Sunday again.
Right.
It's crazy.
You know, it's interesting. I'm really liking the notion of you coming from, but you know, we've had time where we've spent and we've worked together, and it's been a like, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, and we've been at it as a like.
Sure. Because we were involved with outside projects. But if we sat now and had a dialogue like we're doing now, there's no right or wrong. Right. It is whatever it is. Whatever comes up, we talk about it and we work it out.
So we get distracted by the things outside of us.
That's it.
And it's almost like we get caught in this idea that we can make it perfect, that thing outside, when actually that just keeps spiraling. It keeps going. It's the Maya. It's a continuous, forever spiral that's never going to be perfect, but it already is.
We can't change anything outside there. It's all going to come. Karma is really everything that's happening in life is karmically related. Okay. You know, the reason why we're still friends is because we've been friends for lifetimes. This is not the first time we're meeting each other. You know, there's a certain amount of people and they keep coming and coming and coming, you know, so we're going to be friends forever.
So what is this karma? What's karma?
Well, karma is, let's say you have a 60-year lifespan, right? What happens then? You come back in another form, mostly as a human or something like that, unless you're like, and you continue where your spiritual development ended. So wherever that was, you come back to continue working out your shit, And if you you're laying on your deathbed, you need to have the mantra in your mind. When Gandhi was shot, he was Ram, 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 and he died.
Just hanging on to his mantra.
He wasn't hanging on to anything. He was totally immersed in his mantra.
Right. Surrendering.
You didn't have to hang on to anything. Now, when you're laying on bed, you say, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that. And I'm worried about my kids and I'm worried about the money and this. And look how many people are dying right now, every single day. And they're dying without even being able to say, their kids to be able to say goodbye to them.
Right, that's an interesting point, that. And I think people are seeing that. That's a lot of talk, like, because you can't go and visit your dying relative.
Yeah.
You can't even have a funeral.
Nothing. It's that they're digging trenches for putting everybody in there. It's just like archaic. It's like back in the old days when the plague was happening. This is awful. It's changing everything. Forget the economy. What's happening with us as human beings?
I mean, I'm kind of excited somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, it feels transformational.
I think so. Only if we don't fall back into, the old standard patterns that we had, We can't fall back. Every time we see each other or anybody falling back, we say, hey, no need to go back. It's okay. You're safe. It's fine. Let's just move along.
It's the safety, isn't it, that people need?
Yeah, you have to encourage people on the safety, because people are anxious. They don't know what's happening. They're nervous. I think if they feel secure, they can get through this. And we have to reach out to people. We have, I'm on the phone a lot during the days to my friends, the yoga teachers that call me to ask me some advice. I'm there. We talk about it like we're talking now. There's no right or wrong. It just is. Help each other out. Do whatever we can with love and compassion.
I mean, that's the hope. I mean, that's changing society, because before it was dog eat dog, and
Terrible.
So we're in good sticks. We're in exciting times.
I think so, if we can see it that way, right?
Right.
Everything is in lockdown. I speak to my friends at my ashram in India, where I have a little apartment and I spend a couple of months a year there, and they're all in lockdown. They can't even get out. They can't do anything, but they're spending their time diving deeper into their inner work. That's what they're doing.
Right. So we all should dive deeper into the inner.
Yeah, dive deep, and the answers will come. There's no set answer for everybody. The only set answer is love and compassion. That's it, and taking care of each other. What else is there? So you make a couple extra dollars here or there. Who cares about the money? I know everybody has to pay their rent and has to do this and do that. And I'm not sitting here saying anything like this, sitting on a pile of money. We're all struggling. Everyone is struggling, no matter what level they're on. So,
yeah, and maybe this is the unifying cause that, because I was often thinking we're going to need aliens to attack in order for us as humans to unite. But maybe it's just this deadly virus, like zombies, to get everyone to feel that there is more to life than constantly working on that outside world.
You have so many people with a lot of money now that they're just holding on to a lot of money, not helping a lot of people out. And that's what we should be doing. Just the other day, we packed up a truck full of dry goods, soups and rice and beans and stuff like that we had from our last festival. And we brought it over to one of the homeless shelters. I had my mask on and my gloves, and we just took it out. We brought it in, dropped it off, and came home.
Nice.
Yeah, and was a great thing. I had a good experience inside myself.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I've always liked about what you do is you give a lot to, you know, to charities and to organizations.
Yeah, and that's the key here.
What do you think's the best? I mean, the best. Everyone's individual, but the focus of where people should give to if they can.
It's really a personal preference, you know. I don't think it's appropriate for me to say to anybody where they should put their money. It's not, it wouldn't be right, you know, because then it would be me telling you, okay, put your money over here, and that's not correct.
Right, right.
You have to sense, you know, you're living in an area where there's a lot of homeless people and stuff like that, you know, it's right in front of us, you know. Right. How we let all these homeless people live like they do now in California is just shocking.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I suppose people are looking, they're so often distracted by the far. They're very far-sighted, like, you know, over here, there's all these problems, where in actual fact, the problems are very much closer. And in fact, internal exist the problems mostly that people have in their lives. What do you say to that notion that, you know, addressing the issues inside self first is the primary thing to change your outside world?
Yeah, before you can change anybody, you have to change yourself. That's an old story. You know, we all knew that from the beginning. That's the heart. That's where we're all having the most difficulty, is changing ourselves. But don't look at it as like I got to change anything. Right. You know, things will just fall away as you get older. They fall away. Because they make, in the beginning of this conversation, I said, when you're reading a book now, it's much different than when you read that book 5 or 10 years ago. And it's the same thing with life. You'll say, I was like that. I can't fucking believe it, man. You know, how could I even said that to somebody? And I say that to myself all the time. How could you have done that to somebody else, you know? Because you get caught up in the moment and it's crazy and you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And that's what happens out in the world. When you get business, you get anxiety, you get structure, you get problems, you're worried about money. This leads to all this kind of stuff.
So are you finding yourself calling people up and apologizing? And I mean, is that...
Anybody that calls me up and we go over things or something comes up from the past, I'm always first on to say, you know, if I heard, and this is a good thing for your audience, is about forgiveness. I made that T-shirt, You're Forgiven.
Yeah, I had it on the other day. I should have worn it today.
I was going to wear it today. So it's like, I'm asking you to please forgive me for anything that I've done to you through my words, deeds, and actions that hurt you in any way. Please forgive me. And I'm asking you to please, for me, the other way around.
Yes,
you know?
yes, to let you forgive me.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to forgive you for anything that you've done to me to hurt me through your words, deeds, and action. If we can just get to that place,
right, that's
a big place. And if we can do that with our family, our mothers, you know, how difficult that is, our siblings, our friends, you know. I'm calling up friends from like ages ago, or they're calling me, they find me, and I talk to them about stuff. Somebody brings something up and I say, you know, that was a terrible thing. I'm sorry I did that. But I'm talking to you now. So please forgive me.
You're forgiven. Sri, thanks so much for coming on and spending your time, your precious retirement time.
No, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you.
I tell you, the retirement beard is great. I'm loving it. Retirement goatee. It's great.
I thought it was a new look, but you know.
It suits you. It's very cool. I like it. It's very Alan Wattsy.
Oh, good.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Sri. Thanks so much for being.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
And I'm excited. We'll talk offline about different projects.
Good.
Radio shows, etc., etc.
Keep in touch, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure having you on. Thanks, Sri.
Okay, buddy.
Oh, wow. What a great show. Thanks to my guests. Let me just pin my video. Thanks to my guests, Jennifer House and Sridhar Silberfein. There it is. I mean, we are in the time of facing the shit. We're in the time of facing it. And it is our duty to surrender into it and come back into the moment and dive into our deep practice. If you're anxious, if you're tense, look to the foods you're eating, look to yourself to be able to communicate with yourself. I love you. I'm there for you. I forgive you. And the forgiveness, forgive yourself for things you've done and offer up your forgiveness to other people. Now is really the time for transformation, and we can all do it. It's here. Thank you. Thank you. Please forgive me if I've done anything to you through my deeds, words, or actions. My name is Markabadi. I have a book, bookevolve.com. Check it out. Tomorrow, we've got another great show. Matthew Human, amazing musician and spiritual presencer. And then we've got two other fantastic musicians, Leela and Thoth, who do the most phenomenal, energetic enchantment. Really be there for that. That's tomorrow from 2 till 4. Thank you once again. Please share, like the video. And my name's Markabadi. It's a pleasure and an honor to provide and bring these wonderful beings to the forefront. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.